if he wasn't in your life, what would you do then? Would you go by yourself or would you just not go? And so many people I know would never do things on their own. If they're not in a relationship, they're not doing it. Good morning, gorgeous. How are you ladies doing this morning? I hope you're all doing wonderful. For those of you who are here for the very first time, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Michelle Daff. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. Thank you for being here today for another video on the Dr. Daff Show. Today I'm answering questions that you ladies sent in to me, and I'm excited to talk about a question that I think so many people need the answer to. So I want you to go ahead and sit back, relax, get something to drink, get something to write with, and let's talk about this. Our question today is from Miss Rika, and she asks, "Dear Dr. Daff, I was really moved with your last video in choosing not to solely focus on femininity because the YouTube market currently is saturated with such content. And honestly, it's a bit overwhelming, and at times I've struggled with information overload and decision fatigue, among other consequences, to hearing varying opinions and advice. I'll try to get straight to the point. We are being told by this way to attract a man and to choose the best man and how to identify the criteria for such a man. However, what should we be doing to keep him? To keep him happy, to keep ourselves happy, to have a good balance? A lot of women that are giving solicited advice aren't married, and I don't believe a woman is less than if they're not married. It's just hard to see the follow through of their advice. I guess what I would mainly like to say is how to have balance in doing what's needed in a relationship for your man, but not lose yourself and still give yourself that care that you do need. Because honestly, life balance is kind of real, and I kind of feel like it's Jenga or something." Thank you so much for this question, and I'm sure a lot of other women will benefit from your professional advice. God bless you. Thank you, Rika, for your question. This is a really important question that comes up a lot when we start dating someone and we feel so in love and so sort of taken aback that sometimes we forget about ourselves and really need to learn how to balance both doing what we need to do in the relationship and taking good care of ourselves. And yes, decision fatigue is real. And a lot of times when you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram and you're getting all of this advice from so many different people, it can be hard to know, what should I follow? And with that, I always say, take some time and just use a little bit of discernment. Take a look at the person and their lives and see whether or not things are adding up. Why are they able to give you advice that you're just going to take and listen? With anyone, and no matter what their credentials are, always take things into consideration for your life, whether or not it works for you. Pray about it and ask God to give you wisdom of your own. When you get into a relationship, a lot of times you're so excited and you want to give your all. But there are things that sometimes come up where you may start to feel like, should I be doing this? Am I doing too much? What happens if he leaves? How can I protect myself? And all of this comes back down to your personal boundaries. And I've done an entire series on boundaries that I would love for you to take a listen to so that you can learn about what they mean and how to implement them in relationships. But this topic comes down to, what are your boundaries in terms of what do you keep for yourself and what do you give out when you're dating someone? One way that you can ensure that you're keeping balance in your relationship is that you're not spending all of your time with him. I know that's really difficult at times when you really just connect with someone. You want to see them all the time. You want to do everything together. You want to talk to them all the time. But that's not healthy. And a lot of times that cuts a relationship short because everything just kind of gets put out there, or you may get tired of seeing one another and you lose some of that mystery. So maybe seeing them certain days throughout the week, or just monitoring how much time you're spending with them. I know when I was younger and I was dating my husband, I was only allowed to go out on the weekends. I wasn't even allowed to go out on the weekdays. And it would bother me so much. I would get so frustrated because I wish that I could see him every day. But seeing him only twice a week was actually really helpful in the relationship because it gave us time to miss one another. And those days ended up being much more special. And I wouldn't have realized that until looking back upon it, that that was something that actually was a good thing, a boundary that I didn't put into place, but ended up being beneficial for the relationship. You can also set boundaries for yourself by just giving yourself hard cutoff times. Like, okay, I'm going to talk to him, but at 11 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and get off the phone so I can put on a face mask. I can watch a television show. I can read something. I can clean the house, whatever you have to do, giving yourself a hard cutoff time. And yes, you're going to feel tempted, or he may try to sway you to kind of keep you on the phone or keep you there, but you have to be strong enough to say, I have to go. And this is really important because it's not until, unfortunately, things happen that you realize that you've lost yourself. For example, if you end up breaking up with this person and you realize that you don't know who you are anymore, or you don't know what to do with your time, or you don't feel comfortable doing anything alone because everything you did was connected with this person, you're going to feel even more empty. It's not until then that we realize, wow, I've really enmeshed myself so much with this person that I'm not my own person. Okay, you should have your own hobbies, your own interests, things that you do on your own. If he goes out with his friends, that should be okay. Okay, he should go out with his friends. You should not always want to be there whenever he's hanging out with his friends. You should have your own friends and people that you do things with, even if it's just you by yourself. Okay, you can go to dinner on your own. You can go see a movie on your own. Does not always have to be with him. This becomes difficult when things happen and say there's a really nice play that comes out and you really want to see the play and he's not available and you think, oh, now I can't see the play because I don't have him to go with. I can't just go by myself. It's like you can go by yourself. You don't have to go with him. And if he wasn't in your life, what would you do then? Would you go by yourself or would you just not go? And so many people I know would never do things on their own. If they're not in a relationship, they're not doing it. I've talked to so many women and men who maybe want to travel to certain places or want to visit certain restaurants. And they say, well, when I get into a relationship, I'm going to do this. Or when I get in a relationship, I'm going to go there. And I ask, why can't you just go now? Why do you have to be in a relationship? But they're not able to see the joy or the fun in doing it if they're not with someone else. And that's sad. That's a disservice to yourself because you came into this earth alone. You will leave this earth alone. And your life is yours. It's beautiful to have other people join in and share it with them, but they're not the reason why you do what you do. You have to hold on to yourself. In addition to that, it's also important that, you have your own opinions and your mental boundaries strong in relationships. This is another issue that comes up when you're spending so much time with him. You may end up sort of being swayed into his opinions and his thoughts about things and losing your own sense of self, your own opinions, your own way of thinking because you're used to siding with him. Okay, this will affect you if he is not in your life anymore. You may not know what you really think about certain things or how you really feel about certain things. Now, giving him what he deserves and what he needs is also important. So you do balance that by knowing that, okay, I'm going to spend this day with him, and on this day, I'm going to have a picnic, and I'm going to make him all this food, and we're going to go sit in the park and enjoy one another. And that's me bringing myself into the relationship, bringing my love into the relationship, and, helping him to be happy. You cannot make him happy. You cannot keep him happy, and you are not responsible for his happiness. So when you ask that, that's something that sort of came up. Like, that is not your job. Your job is to be in the relationship and be a beautiful person, bring joy into his life. Men want people who are going to make their lives more joyful. They want to be able to come home and see a smile and see someone who's genuinely happy to see them, who wants to spend time with them. They want that physical affection and touch and laughter. They want someone to hang with. They want someone who is going to bring peace into their life. They're not expecting you to make them happy. Okay, that's not your job. your job is not to bring stress and make him annoyed or angry for no reason. Like, that's definitely going to take away from the relationship. But it's not your job to make him happy. And lastly, just wanted to add another way of making sure that you're staying balanced in your relationship is by not doing things like funding him. Okay, there are some of us women who have done things like giving men money and funding their life and funding their lifestyle when they're not our husbands. And that is another way of getting very entangled and enmeshed with him to where you will lose your footing in the relationship. Okay, so keeping that separate and keeping your money as your money, his money as his money, and allowing him to use his money for his things and your money for your things is really important. Having that sexual sobriety where you're not giving up your body to him and allowing him to use your body for, whatever satisfactions and pleasures he may want to use them for is also so important in terms of keeping yourself balanced and having boundaries, because that will protect you until you meet the person that you're ultimately going to be with. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. That is so important. And men, although they do want to have sex with you, of course, they also do respect and appreciate the fact that they are not able to, because the person that they end up marrying, they know was not doing that with every single guy. And it gives them a little bit more security and knowing what kind of person they ended up marrying. Okay, so all of these things are really important for you to consider, especially if you want to keep balance, if you want to protect yourself, if you want to make sure that you don't lose yourself and you don't develop any mental health problems after dating a person, financial problems after dating a person, or just separation issues after dating a person. Keeping yourself balanced in who you are and what you do. I hope that answered your question, my love. Make sure to send this to anyone who may need this information. Share this video on your social media platforms, and make sure to follow me on my Instagram page at A Feminine Impression and at Dr. Michelle Daff, and listen to my podcast, A Feminine Impression. Thank you so much for all of your love and all of your support. And for those of you who have questions, make sure to send them in to me and I will answer them next time on the Dr. Daff Show. Until next time, my loves, may the Lord bless you and keep you. And remember that in all things you do, make a feminine impression. Bye-bye.